Today in the Joy of Editing, it's TK Friday and it's time for another full edit. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing. It's TK Friday, my favorite day of the week. Are you ready for another full edit? Today's image comes to us from Humberto Perez. Thank you, Humberto, for the use of your image. I'm calling this one Scenic Highway. Now, as always, you can download the image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try. There'll be links in the description below this video. Click more, scroll down through, and you will find the Dropbox links. If you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, go to the description of this video, click on more, scroll down through, and you will find a Contact Me link. Click on that link, contact me, and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. If you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have links in the description below this video that'll take you over to Tony Kuiper's web store. You can pick up the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. There's training videos. You can save 15% off your entire purchase. Use my promo code DK15. There's also a bunch of free panels over there you can pick up. And don't forget, there's also the TK Magic Mixer. It's great for black and white conversions and working with color images. It's only $10. You can pick that up. And again, all of Sean Bagshaw's great courses you can find over there as well. And again, use my promo code DK15, save 15% off your entire purchase. When you use my promo code, I make a small commission, and this helps me to keep these videos coming your way. So thanks for using my promo code. I really appreciate it. All right, then, let's get started. Now, as always, I start out here in Lightroom Classic and just do some basic edits. I want the image relatively flat going into Photoshop, where I'll do the full developing with the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. Now I'm using a linear profile for Humberto's camera. After selecting the profile, I clicked Auto and just did some minor adjustments here. I usually check the white and black point to make sure I'm not clipping. I did adjust the white balance. As far as detail, I'm using no sharpening or noise reduction. And lens corrections, I always check on remove chromatic aberration as well as enable profile corrections. For the crop, there's really no crop. I just basically straighten the image up a little bit. That was it. Now just notice down here on the road, all the markers on the road as well as this sign right here. Once I took the image into Photoshop, I used the remove tool and got rid of all that stuff because I didn't really think it was helping the image. When you download the image, it'll have all this stuff removed already for you and you'll have a TIFF file and we'll have a good starting point. Now at this point, I just right click on the image, go to edit in and click on edit in Photoshop 2025. And now here we are in Photoshop ready to get started. If you watch my TK Friday full edit videos, you know I always like to start out with balance and contrast to both sky and foreground just to balance out the image and add some contrast. It's a good starting point, and this way I can study the image and see where I need to take it. And just to save some time to set up the balance and contrast, I'm going to use David Tillett's example Photoshop action using TK button clicks. I'll give this a click. And note, we now have a color grading tool. We have two layers, one for foreground, one for sky. We're going to adjust them separately. And you'll note that there's a midtones 3 mask inside of each one of these layers. For the foreground layer, it's intersected with the foreground. For the sky layer, it's intersected with the sky. And all that is there for when I make adjustments on the color grading tool is to make sure I don't clip out highlights or shadows when I'm making adjustments. In other words, we don't want to lose detail in the highlights or shadows. In case you're wondering if you have those actions, if you have TK9 version 3, you do. When you downloaded TK9 version 3, you got this folder. Just open it up and you're going to find this folder, document and resources. Open that up and then you're going to find TK9 example actions. Double click that and you're going to find those actions in here. Don't place these actions into your My Actions panels. They won't work. Only run them from Photoshop Actions. By the way, the PDF notes show you how to set this all up manually. Now we're going to start out with the shadows on the foreground. I'm going to click this button right here. I'm going to move the brightness slider to the left and we'll stop at right there, -32. Now let's click on the midtone button. I'll use the brightness slider. I'll drag it to the right to lighten up the midtones over to right there, +40. And now let's click on the highlight button and I want to lighten my highlights up a little bit and I'll take this to right there, 36, +36. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. And now we're going to click on the sky adjustment layer. I'll click on the midtone button. I just want to darken up the midtone. So I'll take the brightness slider and drag it to the left over to right there, -10. Now I just want to cool off the midtones a little bit. So you see my cursor. Anywhere you move that cursor to and left click with your mouse, you'll drop a puck and you'll color grade it on this color wheel. So I'm going to click like right about here. And now I'll click on the highlight button and I want to open up the highlights. So I'll take the brightness slider, we'll drag it to the right over to right here, +21. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. And now if we come to the combo CX panel and click this button right here, we can see the overall before and after. We started out here and now we're here. So we have a nice balance and contrast of the sky in the foreground. It's a good starting point. Now I study the image and we'll see where we want to go next. For my editing workflow, after a balance and contrast adjustment, I always like to try a midtone contrast just to pop out the contrast in the midtones, gives you a nice pop of color. This is the way I do it, but I would say follow along with my edit so you can learn how to use the TK9 plugin for Photoshop. And then if you would like to edit it a different way, start from scratch and use these techniques and find your own edit for this image. TK Fridays aren't about my edits for the image, but they're about showing you how to incorporate TK9 into your Photoshop workflow. Here's how I do midtone contrast. Now right now my color grading tool's in the way. I'll click the X and that closes the color grading tool. Nothing changes on color grading layers. And now we have our multi-mask panel back. So click this button right here. This gives us a curves adjustment layer. In the properties panel, see where it says preset? This is a drop down. Click right here. And I like to sample out some different presets. Here's increased contrast. Here is linear contrast, a milder form of contrast. Here is medium. And now here is strong. So I try to find one that I think will work. And in this case, I think I'll go with medium. I can always change this later if I don't like it. Now remember, this contrast is going over the entire image right now. I only want it in midtones. So here's how we can do that. What we do is come to the multi-mask panel, click this button right here, and now we can adjust our layer mask. Now right now we just have a white reveal all layer mask on there. I want midtones, so I'll sample out some midtones. Here's midtones 1, here's midtones 2, we get a stronger effect, and here's midtones 3. And I like this one the best. And I like it on the entire image. Sometimes I just put it in the foreground. Other times I let it go in the foreground and the sky. In this case, I want it everywhere. Now I'm done with adjust layer mask, so I can click the X and we're back to the multi-mask panel. And now let's see a before and after midtone contrast. Here's before and here's after. Yeah, I really like that. Now, usually after a midtone contrast, I feel my midtones get a little dark, so I like to lighten them up. Let me show you how we can lighten up midtones very easily. I'll come up to the multi-mask panel, click on that curves adjustment button, click this button on the combo or CX panel to hide the layer mask. I'm going to click on this button, SCR, to go into screen blend mode on this layer. It's a lightening blend mode. Because remember, I want to lighten up the midtones. And now we're going to go and click this button again so we can adjust our layer mask. Now, right now I have a hide all mask, so we don't see the lightening, but I want to work with midtones. And what I love about adjust layer mask is it lets us see in real time what is happening. Usually I use midtones 1, the most subtle of the midtones. So let's click on midtones 1. And I like it, but let's try midtones 2. I like that better. It's a little too light, so I'm going to take the layer opacity and drop it back a little bit, and I'll take it back to right there, 80%. I'm happy with that. I'm done with adjust layer mask. I'll click the X. Now I feel the top portion of the sky is getting too light, so I don't want that to happen. Here's what I'll do. Come over to the combo or CX panel, click on the right side of the create group button. We're going to create a group with a white mask with the curves adjustment layer inside. We can use a gradient on this group mask. So click your gradient tool button, and then come up and make sure you click on linear gradient. Do not have reverse checked on. Click the drop down with your TK gradients. Click this button right here, black to white. And then come right about here, click and drag down. Hold down your shift key to constrain what you're doing here so it goes straight, and come down to like right about here. Release the left click of your mouse. And now if we don't want to see this line, click right here on this icon. And now let's disable this mask by clicking the X. Here's before and here's after. So that's keeping that darker, which is what I want. But you know what? It's getting into this area of the foreground right there, and I don't want it, but we can fix it. Come to the combo or CX panel, click the layer mask button, click on the foreground, foreground and click the plus to add it. I'm going to get rid of this line by clicking right here. Let me disable this mask on the Combo CX panel. Click the X. Here's before and here's after. See, it's protecting that now. And if you want to see what this mask looks like, click the double arrow button. And now you can see that's been added back in, right? Click the double arrow again and we're back to the image. And now we could collapse this group by clicking right here because the next adjustment you make will go inside that group and you don't want that. And now let's see a before and after on this group. Here's before the midtone lightening. And now here is after, and I really like it. Now, when I study the image, I feel this water is a little bit too light. I want to darken it up a bit. I'll use an object selection tool to select this, but I'm going to use my TK selection brush. I'm going to click right here. This is my TK selection brush, which is free, and you could pick it up at the TK web store. Just click on my link in the description below. It works with the object selection tool. I'll click this button right here. It activates the rectangle object selection, and you see my circle here. This is a brush. I'm just going to click right here and put a dot. I'm going to come over here and click and put another dot. I'm going to click and put a dot right here and one more dot right here. And then I'll click this button to make that selection. And see how nicely that just selects it? I find this to be really fast, and a lot of times it's more accurate than when you just use the object selection tool in rectangle or lasso mode. And now that we have that selection, you can see my selection indicator here. Click the color grading tool button. And note this layer mask, if I click the double arrow button, we can see there's our selection right there. Click the double arrow again. Now I'm going to click on the midtone button on the color grading tool. And I love the color grading tool for doing adjustments like this. I'll take the brightness slider and start to drag it to the left to darken up that water. And I'll stop right here at -30. Now we could color grade if we needed to. So it's a very handy tool. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Yeah, that looks really good. And now I'm looking at this distant mountain. I want to darken it up a bit. And I'm going to use the selection brush again to select it. So I'm going to click on this button for rectangle selection. And again, I'm going to click like right here. I'm going to click right over here, right down here. And let's see if we can get it. I'll click this button to make the selection. And that does a nice job. Now, missed this part of the mountain, and I'm not worried about that. I'll show you how I take care of that. I'm going to output this to another color grading tool. So click the plus in the color grading tool, and there's that mask right there. Again, I'll click the midtone button. I'm going to darken up the midtones, just to darken up that mountain back there. And I ended up going to right there, -15. Now I got to fix this mountain right here. I'll show you what I do. I'll click on my white brush button, make sure the mask is selected. And now with a nice soft edge brush at 100% opacity, type 0 if you're not at 100% opacity, and we can just paint over this area right here. And that soft edge will just blend everything right in, just like so. That should be good. I might even just paint down on this area, right down in here, over here, and maybe just right to there. And now let me shut off this layer. Look at the mountain. Here's before and here's after. And now I'm looking at the road. I'd like to darken it up a bit. I think that'll look really good. It winds around here, and there's a little piece of it over here. We'll start with this area. I'll use the selection brush again. Now check this out. We'll use the rectangle again. So I'll click on it. I'll click once right here, once right here, and come down here and click one time, and then click this button to make the selection. Wasn't that fast and easy? I went ahead and zoomed in so we can see this road. This time, rather than using the rectangle, I'll click this button to get a lasso, and I'll make my brush smaller. And what I want to do here is just paint around this road. We're going to lasso this just like this. And now we'll click this button. That'll add to the selection. See how it selected that road? That's good. And now if you look, you can see the marching ants on the road and also this road back here. We need to get another color grading tool. I'll click the plus in this color grading tool. That gives us another color grading tool. Again, I'm going to click midtones. I'll drag the brightness slider to the left. That's going to look really good. And I'll take it to right there, -35. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Isn't that nice? I like that. I'm done with the color grading tool for now. I'll click the X on the color grading tool. Nothing changes over in those color grading layers. And now I'm turning my attention to this area right here in the foreground. I want to burn these darker shadows here. That's going to add some nice detail in here, plus slightly darken this. And we can do that with the burn tool. So I'm going to come to the Combo CX panel and click the left side of the burn tool to get a 50% gray layer in the soft light blend mode. Now there's a reason for using the 50% gray layer, and that is because when I click on the Edit Blend If button, if I click on this double arrow magenta button, you can see I'm selecting the entire image, but I'm looking for dark tones. If I click on Darks 1, you can see where Darks 1 sits. Wherever you see that magenta overlay, let me go to Darks 2 and see how it really targets these shadow areas right here. But I want to alter this a little. I'm going to take this top handle in the highlights and I'm going to drag it to the left, and I want to stop at right there. But see how it's really targeting those areas? And this area of the sky, like right here, it's not really going to affect, so I don't have to worry about getting in the sky. I have to be a little careful when I'm down around the tree line. Now that I have my blend if set, I can click this X to get out of Edit Blend If, and now with my brush with a nice soft edge, 100% opacity, I can just paint over this entire area. I just got to be careful when I get around the tree line here. I don't want to get into that, but this is 100% black paint just getting painted right over here. Now let me go ahead and shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Isn't that nice? Not only does it darken the shadows, but it slightly darkens the area around the shadows. All thanks to Blend If. Next on the agenda is a TK action. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the Combo or CX panel and click on Color Loom. That stands for Color Luminosity. And this is a great action. What it lets us do is adjust the luminosity values of all these colors. In other words, how light or dark these colors will be. For instance, if I take reds and drag it to the left, see how reds get darker or lighter? The same with yellows and greens and cyans and blues and so on. What I'm going to do is plug in the values from my PDF notes and get back to you and show you the result I came up with. I'm back, and let me show you my final result. This is before color luminosity, and this is after. Again, before and after. Isn't that nice? I just love this color luminosity adjustment, and I usually like to add it near the end of an edit. Now, as I study the image, I'm looking at these light areas in the sky, and I'd like to tone them down a bit. Here's how we can do it. I need to create a mask to target these areas, and I think a zone mask will be good, so we're going to click on the zone mask button. A color picker comes up, and I'm going to click like right here, this tone, and click OK. And what I want to do is just slightly tweak this slider right here, I think to right there, 220. I want to tighten it up a bit, so I'll drag this slider over to say like right about here. I don't want it quite that light, so I'm just going to drag this back a little bit, and I think right there should be pretty good. Now, it's nicely selecting these light areas. It's getting other areas of the image, but here's what we can do. Click on the Mask Calculator button. Click X for an intersection. Click the My Channels button. We could select a channel we saved out, and we need the sky, so we'll click on Sky. We'll click the Equal button to make the calculation, and now we're only selecting those light areas in the sky that I want to tone down. And now let's click on the Color Grading Tool button, and now we have another color grading layer, and all we need to do is tone that down. What I'm going to do is click on the Highlight button, because these are highlights, and what I want to do is just take the brightness slider and drag it to the left, and we'll take it over to right there, -35. Now let me shut off this layer. Look at the light areas in the sky. Here's before and here's after. Just that easy. Isn't that nice? I'm done with the color grading tool. I'll click the X. Now what I want to do is just close off the top of the sky. I'm going to do something a little bit different here. I'll start out by holding my Shift key down and clicking this Multiply button. We have a curves adjustment layer with a black hide-all mask called Multiply Brush in the Multiply Darkening Blend mode. Now here's where things get different. I want to protect some of the darker clouds from getting too dark when I close off the sky. So I'm going to come up to the Multi-Mask panel, click on the Zone Mask button. The color picker comes up, and I want to sample a light tone like right here and click OK. Now we can refine that a little bit. What I want to do is I'll take this top slider. I'm going to drag it to the right over to like right there, 202. I'm not going to tighten this up at all. I just want to lighten it up a little bit to maybe somewhere right about here. And now let's output this as a selection. So we'll click this button right here. And you can see by the selection indicator that I do have a selection. And now we need a gradient tool. So click on your gradient tool. Make sure linear gradient is ticked on. Click your drop down. If your TK gradients aren't open, click right here. Click this gradient, white to black. Click right right here, click and drag down. Hold down your shift key to keep this straight. And we want to drag down to say like right here, release the left click of your mouse. Now I want you to note something. Let's take a look at this mask. I'm going to click the double arrow button. When I made that selection from the zone mask, when I draw the gradient, that selection gets put into the gradient. Isn't that super cool? I just thought you would like to know what was happening there. And now let's click the double arrow again. And now if we don't want to see this line again, we can click this icon right here. This is before, this is after. I would like it a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do is double up on this. And to do that, click this button on the combo or CX panel. That just duplicates your layer. And then I'll take the opacity the whole way off. And then we'll just build it up slowly. And I think I'll stop like right there, 40%. And now it's a little too blue up here. And so what we can do here is, right now I have a selection. I don't want that selection. So we'll click this button to deselect. We'll click this button to get a hue saturation adjustment layer. What I want to do is clip the hue saturation adjustment layer to this layer. So on the Combo CX panel, click on the paper clip button. That'll clip it to the layer below. And let's just take the saturation, the overall saturation the whole way off. And now let's shut off this hue saturation layer. Here's before and here's after. It just tones down that blue saturation. I'll shut off these three layers. This is before closing off the top, and then this is after. 2 more steps and we're done. I want to add a basic vignette. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the Combo or CX panel. Click the Vignette button. Gaussian blur dialog comes up. Just click OK. We'll use the default setting of 30% opacity. Let's click our Edit Blend If button. And I just want to keep it out of the darkest darks and the lightest lights. So I'll click the No Darks 2, No Lights 1 button. Let me shut off the vignette. Here's the before and here is the after. Now I have one more step, and that is to remove some of the blue from this mountain area right here. I don't need Edit Blend If, so I'll click the X. And now if you'll come to the layer stack and you see this layer right here, let me shut it off. This is where I darkened that mountain right there. And what I want to do is borrow this mask. So hold your Command or Control key down and click on the mask. That'll copy that mask as a selection. And then come up to the Multi-Mask panel and click on the Hue Saturation button, and you'll see that mask right there. And then we'll just take the overall saturation and drag it back to right there, -17. Now let's shut off this layer. Look at that mountain. Here's before and here's after. And just reducing that saturation a little bit looks good. Now, this concludes today's edit. I do hope you download the image in the PDF notes and give the edit a try. I'm really happy with the way this one turned out. Now let's see the overall before and after. Come to the Combo or CX panel, click this button right here. We started out here and we end up here. Well, another TK Friday comes to a close. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's full edit tutorial. If you did, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon. Click all so that you receive all notifications. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. And I will see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.